compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby and the municipal center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Copies of all revised or additional meeting notices are sent via fax to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press, and are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal center. For the record, we have perfect attendance. It's nice to see everybody back from the summer. Okay, this is a work session, so we start off with public comment. This is the only opportunity members of the public will have an opportunity to speak. I will go around the room once, and if you'd like to speak, just raise your hand. Please.
Johanna Gamble, Ravine Road. I was wondering if there would be a community center report tonight because it was postponed until September.
No, there will be not, but in the next meeting in September there will be.
Next Tuesday night.
The next one, okay.
Is it?
No.
Anybody else?
I'm here for
Oh, before you start, you need to give your name. This is being recorded, so people know who's speaking.
okay, this is the first time for me.
Understood.
Here,
We'll be gentle.
Yeah, so because I'm so nervous now, but
Don't be. We're here for you.
okay. I'm Helen. I'm from Tenafly Gourmet Farms.
Okay. So you own the business, or you work there?
Yeah, I work there.
You work there. You're not a
This
resident
is
of
my-
Tenafly, but you work for Tenafly Gourmet.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, yeah, just want to speak about street fair.
Okay.
So I have to tell everything
Yes.
right now.
Everything you want.
Yeah, whatever you'd like to say, now's the time to say it.
Last April, there was a street fair on the Highwood Avenue. So but that street fair damaged to the business. So my boss want to appeal something. So there will be another street fair in October, right?
That's correct.
So we worried that in the parking lot, there a lot of people walk through the parking lot to access the Highwood Avenue.
Correct.
So that's so dangerous for the customers, and even if something bad happened in our parking lot, we have the responsibility. So we worried about that, and then.
Piermont Avenue one-way comings or
Yeah, so one-way block, and then from Piermont Road, so a lot of cars go through our store and then go around the Piermont Road again, and then yeah, so that's a big problem. So
Okay. So I'm familiar with your parking lot. You have normally you have two entrances. One is on Highwood,
yes.
one is on Piermont. So if there's a street fair on Highwood, you'll have access, ingress and egress only from Piermont Road.
There,
We
yes.
understand that. So the two concerns you have are not unrealistic. One is the issue of people walking through your parking lot that aren't your customers, and God forbid somebody should fall or something like that. We understand that. The other is anybody either driving through the parking lot or parking there that's not a customer. The only thing I would suggest is if there's a street fair on Highwood Avenue, you might want to put some signage along Piermont Road saying parking lot for use of customers only. Please walk around, not access to the street fair. You might even ask the Chamber of Commerce. You folks are not members of the Chamber of Commerce, are you?
The dogs are not barking today.
You're not a member of the Chamber of Commerce, correct?
sign.
Okay, I will, you could speak to the Chamber of Commerce and ask them to put some signage up. But I would urge you, as business people in Tenafly, if you truly want your voice to be heard in some of these decisions, join the Chamber of Commerce. It's not that expensive. And from what I understand, when they decide whether or not to have a street fair, the vote is usually very close. And I don't understand why the businesses that don't want a street fair, they're not members of the chamber. If they all joined the chamber and voted no, we wouldn't be having this discussion. So that would be one of the ways you could have your voice heard. We hear you. Councilman Borzolato, I believe, put at our desk 3 letters from various businesses. Unfortunately, can this be put into the record when it's handed at a meeting, or does?
Sure.
It should
Okay.
be.
Well, don't say that, because the planning board, you can't.
Is it the same?
It's a little different like that. But in any case, we will see your letter and the other 2 businesses' letter. But I urge the business owners to join the chamber and be heard there. The initial decision is made by the chamber. This body does approve any permits that came before it, and it did approve the permit in July, and I believe the only one that voted against it was Councilman Borzolato. So, be heard. Anybody else care to speak? Okay, we'll close the public comment section. And the next thing is the DPW project update. And we have our director here, and while you're making that, I'm going to talk to the crickets. Bob, you want to?
Yes.
Yeah, she was handing out some.
There you go.
There's 2 letters from Max's,
There's 3 separate letters, it looks like. Right, 3 letters.
but there are 2 from Max's.
2 from Max's, though, it looks like.
See, this is the problem when you get the letter on the moment you have to discuss it.
Right.
So I think that it should not be included in the record because we don't have a chance to read
Yeah,
it.
but anything we get that's in our public,
Yeah.
we have it, so.
The letter, that's what I thought it was.
You could push it off and say to discuss it at a different time, but
Yeah, that's why, to give us a chance to read it. I mean, nothing against it, just you have to read it.
there's nothing that prevents you from doing it, but
Yeah,
it's really a decision.
yeah. That's what they call it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you can't.
The document that we just passed out to you is an updated summary of the project schedule for the construction of the DPW building, which is now taking place. And I don't know if any of you have had the chance to ride by recently, but
I've been there.
okay. But the progress is highly visible. Once we got past some issues, the work really accelerated, and it's going well. But we thought that this would be a good opportunity to bring you up to date, because we find ourselves at a critical point. As you know, previously we've experienced some delays. This project schedule that you have reflects a revised completion date, which takes us into the first quarter of 2017.
It was not a dog.
The dog ate the crickets. The crickets.
So,
Okay.
And the critics.
And we also thought it'd be a good opportunity for you to reconnect with the team. So, Bob, you want to?
Good evening, everyone. I'd just like to introduce our team. We have Joe Frangioso, Janine McDonald, who's the project coordinator, and we are out of the ground with the building finally, and we are framed out, and we are sheathed, and we're, Joe, percentage-wise, what would you say? 25%?
25 a little more.
25 to 30% completed, and we're making great progress. As Jewel said, we have a revised completion date schedule due to the delays that we experienced earlier on in the project, and we hope to meet that target date. That's our goal.
which target date?
It's February.
The new target date, yeah?
That's the new target date, yes.
And what we wanted to speak to you about tonight, wanted to give Joe and Janine an opportunity to give you from their perspective where we are in their respective areas. Joe represents Arcarian Iavino, the architect for the project.
Well, Drew, like you said, we've gotten past some of the site issues and now are into the building again. And the framing is completed. Roof trusses are done. They have done the roof sheathing and wall sheathing, as Bob had mentioned. Upcoming work in the next couple weeks, they're looking to get the roofing done. So the shingle roof and the flat roof. And then they'll start with the CMU and the stucco on the outside to try to get everything watertight. And then after that, they'll start working inside with the roughing for HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. And then, once everything's enclosed and roughed in, then the finishes start to come in fast. So we're at a point now where they should actually start to accept them.
Okay, so reading your report, Joe, it says that while there are going to be changes to the schedule, there are not going to be any changes to the cost. That's correct?
Not entirely.
Oh, well, that's what was in the report.
Right. No, well, not to the overall budget. We are still within budget. But what we do need to do is we need to reallocate some of the lines, because essentially what has happened is that during the delays that we had for the environmental remediation, some of the issues that we had with the contractor, those are things that all had to be administered and had the participation of the architect. So of the firms that are involved, as you will recall, we had to do an amendment to the site remediation portion under Mazer that added $50,000.
Yeah.
That paid for the additional work that we had to do at the request of DEP. However, we also had to have the administrative and design aspect of that. So we're at a point where we need to not only extend the contracts to take into account the additional time, but in the case of Arcari and Iovino, we also need to do an amendment because we have to allow for the additional costs that their firm will need to complete the project.
And so that was not in the report.
Well, it was in the sense that we have an overall project, and because of the fact that we're at a point where we have a very good idea of what our costs are for some of the areas that Janine McDonald is responsible for, we know that we can reallocate the funds from within the project as opposed to having to add additional money.
So the bottom
to it.
line is not impacted at this time?
Correct. The bottom line is not
That's still-
impacted. We're looking at extending all of the contracts, and we're looking at we're requesting, I think, an additional $10,500 for the architectural firm.
And taken out of which funds?
Taken out of the project, reallocated within
There
the
was like
project.
from the reserve or from, because when we had, every line was pretty much assigned.
Do you know where it's coming from yet?
Yes.
Where?
Well, it's coming from various lines within the
Do you want to
project.
tell us which ones?
But just for clarification, the total, it's still going to remain either at or under budget.
Correct.
We're not reallocating money from other places in our
No,
budget
no,
having nothing to do.
It's just within the project.
Right,
Within the
right,
project.
right. Just want to make sure we're all on the same
Right.
page.
And I mean, there's so many lines. It's hard for me to tell you which
Okay.
exact lines.
Some lines came in under what we had projected.
Correct.
So you take it from there and
Right.
accumulate it.
What else?
We also have Janine to give you an update on her area.
Hi, I'm working on the data voice cabling. As you know, that has been, the scope of work was approved. And for data cabling, voice, security system, intrusion system, that scope of work was defined, and we have approval to issuance of the purchase order. We're also working on the furniture, the plans and specs for the furniture, as well as the employee lockers. That's done. And we're just doing one last review on it, and that'll be ready for your approval and issuance of purchase.
Yes, Jenny, I have a question for you. That plan has been approved, and one of the reasons that it has been approved is a direct RFP, wired RFP to a certain company rather than public bidding for the electrical work, was that according to, we need to meet a certain schedule, and then we are allowed by the authority of the state to go to a specific company without going through public bidding. We all knew from the beginning, a year and a half ago, that we're going to have to go through a wiring of the building. That's not a secret. And even though we had to go through a direct RFP to meet the time frame. My whole point is, hopefully in the future, we're not going to go through direct RFPs, but we're going to, for the benefit of the town, we're going to make sure that we get the best bid. And if there are other things like that, would you like to make sure that the best possible bid is available for the town rather than directly to a certain company?
Well,
I don't believe that's a promise that we can make.
No, it's not a promise we can make, and are you asserting that we're not getting the best deal from the town?
Yes.
Because you're the only one at the table.
I know that
that
I'm the only one at the table, and I'm asserting that the only way
What's
to
your
know...
assertion based on?
Exactly. The only way to know if we get the best deal is by go to a public bidding and selecting the lowest bidder. Everything else is basically an assumption that we're getting a good deal.
It's been explained to you more than once why there was no public bidding on this, and I don't understand why you continually ask the same question and
You
get
ask
the
a
same
question,
answer.
why do you think that, you ask me why do I think that...
But it's been answered before.
State contracts are arrived at by bidding.
Okay, state contracts, if you want, I didn't want to rehash the whole thing, but what I'm going to tell you is it was a
That's what
a
you're doing,
county.
you're rehashing the whole thing.
I was trying to basically count, every county has contracts with hundreds of suppliers, and I'm sure that every county has a contract with an electrical wiring. When you select a certain one, it's probably, it is from Hunterdon County, you have one in Morristown, probably you have one in Passaic, you have one in Hudson County, you have one every place. When you, the only way, at least for my point of view, as the only way I know that basically this is the best one is when you have a public bidding saying, yes, this is the one that came out to be the best. And that's why I was bringing it up. What I was telling you is that we're going to have, I didn't want to go back to this one. I want to say when we get future, I would like, if it's possible, to make sure that we get the best price. So the best way to basically make the town assure that it's the lowest price is to go through a bidding process.
But I don't want...
May I interject?
Sure, please.
In one of the reasons that you do go to the Hunterdon County Purchasing Co-op is because they define the requirements. You don't have sufficient plans and specifications. Like for structural steel, the architect has, specifications this thick, and he produces drawings specifically for this building. But in this case, there are not specific plans and specifications for the cabling. So if you're going through the co-op, you're going to actually to a company that E+ was awarded that contract from Hunterdon. And in that contract, they're required to meet certain standards. They're required to install the cable in a certain way. They're required to supply the material at a certain dollar amount. The testing of the cable is all specified under the Hunterdon County Co-op. So if you wanted to go out to bid, you'd need to have plans and specifications developed for each one, but that would be expensive. So you'd have to go to an engineer who would produce plans and specifications specifically for the data and voice cabling.
That's exactly what I was
saying. Say that it
saying.
would cost more to do that?
Well, yes, because you'd have to go out and get specifications, hire an engineer, tell him specifically what you want to do, and he would have to develop plans and specifications for
Not that it will satisfy the councilman, but in your professional opinion, is this the most efficient way, when I say efficient, cost-effective as well, of doing this?
Yes, because it's all volume discounted as well. So you're also taking advantage of the volume discount. And that's one of the reasons to join the co-op, is because not just Tenafly, but many other towns and school systems are all in the same co-op. And so they were able to tell them, this is what our volume is going to be, and that's how it drives down the price.
So Jenny, now we're going to get we're going to need to do the furniture.
Yes.
What's the process for the furniture to get to the...
Well, the furniture, in order to be consistent, the same furniture that was used at the police department, Global Furniture, was selected for the DPW. So it's the same filing systems, the same furniture. And that also is underneath the Hunterdon, that's actually a state contract for Global Furniture. And those dollar amounts, because you'll see that there's a list price and then there's the discounted price. And that's specifically based on the state of New Jersey. They go out to bid, they go out to Global, and they knock down the prices that you and I could buy it for. based on the volume discount from the
How
state.
much more?
So this is a bidding process through the state.
That the state has
So it's
done.
not that there's a lack of a bidding process.
Right.
It's just the state does it.
Yes.
And with the size of the state, they're going to get a much better price
Right.
than if we did it locally.
Exactly.
Okay, for those that may not be aware, your function as I use the term clerk of the works, is to make sure that this project is as efficient and is completed up to our standards, but at the same time is as price conscious as we could possibly. That's really your only function,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And you oversee the entire process from start to finish, and I know you did it for our police station as well, correct?
Yes, yes.
So once again,
Well, and
basically her function is to protect us and make sure every aspect of this job is done properly, but as cost effective as possible.
I work with Bob to define what the scope and the requirements are for the DPW, and then rely on state contracts, because the state contracts, the bidding process has already been done.
Yeah, the
And if
state
there's ever
contract
an
is much
issue-
better than a county contract.
Well, then
But
why?
actually, the state of New Jersey, and I'm not an expert on this, but the state of New Jersey doesn't have contracts for cabling, and they've allowed now the counties to do that. And the counties now, instead of the state going out to bid it out, they're allowing counties, and again, this is not my total expertise, but my understanding is that the counties created these co-ops in the absence of a state contract, because many of the state contracts had lapsed.
Thank you.
So we have 21 or 23 I forget how many counties we have in New Jersey. Why are we dealing with the Huntington County?
Because they actually went out and if you go on the Hunterdon County Co-op website, you'll see how many towns and Board of Eds are part of that co-op. But they are the ones that had a purchasing group that actually went out
And the other counties did not.
right.
Thank you. Okay, anything else for this particular item?
No, we're good. We just wanted to
Good.
give you a...
I want to thank you very much.
Oh, yes, I just should clarify that I am really specifically for furniture, for appliances, for lockers. I'm not dealing with the construction, so when it comes to what the costs are, I'm dealing with the-
Exterior, interior.
Okay, the administrator's report.
Hey, guys.
Is this the update level?
Yes, update now, yes.
Well, the first item we've dealt with, I just wanted to give you a preview of what we would be discussing under to be considered. Then we just have a few updates. We have implemented the change that was approved at the last council meeting to forgive the $25 per permit hang tag fee for businesses through the year of 2016. We've already received a couple of requests. We worked in conjunction with the chamber, and the chamber has now put that information out to the businesses.
Do you happen to know which businesses came in? Just out of curiosity?
The first one that came in, oh my gosh, Mr. Ayudin.
Okay, it doesn't.
Yeah.
About how many, do you know?
No, just a couple so far.
Yeah, just.
But there should be more. It was put out on September 2nd. So I anticipate that we'll get more. And this was a business that had previously had 3 hang tags, and they've now asked for 4 additional to give them a total of 7. And that's what we feel.
Are those annual, or once they get for like 2-3?
They're long-term. If they
Long-term.
lose them, then they have to request a replacement. But they're long-term, and for the ones that previously paid, that money goes into an escrow. And if they turn them in, we give their money back.
Wait, does a replacement cost though?
$25, yeah.
Has one ever been turned in?
Yeah.
Oh, that's encouraging.
In fact, Wamrat,
Yeah,
he collected his money, and we've had a few individual employees also.
Has Arthur Murray danced in for?
Not yet. Not yet.
Has a good time.
I
They're free.
expect them. Let's see, just some quick updates. Municipal paving, the bids, I believe, are coming in on the 9th. And we hope also to award that contract on Tuesday.
Okay, just one question about this one, sorry. At the meeting we had, we said one of the things that we want to make sure is when the new paving contract comes in, we're going to try to select a vendor that has 100% new rather than recycled asphalt in order to get the best results for our.
I don't know if it's worded that way. We
I
agreed
thought
that we
the-
would put in an extra, not an extra, yeah, I guess an extra. We agreed that we would have an extra in the contract.
I thought the engineer said that might not be
Yeah.
cost effective.
Right,
But, well, let's see what we can do, please.
yeah. I think it was agreed that it would be an alternate. That's what it was. So
What
we
does
have
that
to.
mean?
An alternate means that we are going with what the state standards are, or a slightly higher standard. But the slightly higher standard we know is going to be more expensive. So that comes in as an alternate. They give us both sets of prices, and it
So
gives
it's up
us an
to us to
opportunity.
decide.
Right.
Just when we had a meeting, the representative for Mazer said that really that's not really a cost differential. It's really a question of how far away is the plant versus your location.
Well,
That's not my recollection.
What he said was, to get the higher quality asphalt, it might have to come from a plant so much further away that the price
That's exactly.
is the situation.
It's not a question
We're
of
gonna
having a cost.
We're going to get the two prices and we'll decide at this
Yeah.
table.
Upper Griffin Park, we have received the contract for that project, so that will be getting underway shortly.
We're going to get that done before winter?
Probably not. We're going to try, but I'm not sure if that's going to occur before winter. It may have to be completed in the spring. Depends on how many installations they have to do. Senior Center generator, previously the project itself was completed, now it's entirely completed. The protective bollards have been installed.
Would you, for the next meeting, give us a report, now that we have the generators completed and operational, give us a sense of exactly what the generator can do? Is the entire building from top to bottom functional with no electric? Can the generator cover everything, or is it just going to cover electricity and not refrigerators? Give us a sense of exactly, does that generator
Got it. The level of power.
level of power?
And one more question. You have the ballots and the generator. On the back of the senior center, we said we're going to put those protective barriers so people don't trip.
We
with
discussed
it.
that, but that's a separate project.
So
There's
was
no
it done
money
or
for
not
that.
done?
No, it hasn't been done. We don't have any money for that.
Okay, I thought it was part, when we repaved, we decided we're going to put those balance two over there when we repaved the back of the building, which was done over the summer.
No,
It's fine.
it was in the front of the building.
In the back of the building, when you come out, along the
Back?
building on the back where you have the parking lot.
Side of the building.
Side of the building, whatever you want to call it, yeah.
No.
That's where they have holes and that we
We'll
repaved
take a
it.
look at it.
And there were those low
Cement
cement,
things?
which people drop trip
Triple.
and
You mean where the cars
Exactly.
pull up?
And that
They're
was
still
it.
there. I parked there this
I know,
morning.
that's why I say, they want some tall ball and take that out so people don't trip. You put those.
We'll take a look at it.
We'll
Okay.
take a look at it,
Yeah.
but yeah, I know it has to
Bollards
be done.
instead of
Exactly.
We have to allocate
Exactly,
funds
so
for
people
that.
don't trip.
Okay, that's it?
Right.
Okay, that's it.
Makes sense.
And, just to call your attention to the list of events.
What do they do when they go
We have a
downtown?
lot of stuff
and
coming
Woodbury,
up.
for
We
God's
have
sakes?
the
Let's
residency
be smart about
section
this.
this Thursday. We have the
Those
9/11
are
ceremony
our senior people.
on Sunday. We have the Tenafly Community Night on Monday night. We have the annual car show at the Greek Church. And right now, the forecast for September 12th is very good weather, so.
And don't forget September 11th
Yep.
at 5 o'clock. It'd be nice if you folks join us. It's not going to be a long event, but
Thank you.
next is a correspondence. Okay, the first one is from Mr. Simmering, who lives up on Churchill Road. However, his property extends down a very steep hill to the base of the hill, which is Mayflower Drive. He has a fence on that property, which is in need of repair. He got a summons for it. He wanted to replace the fence. Originally was told that he couldn't replace it, only repair it, because the fence is on top of an easement. However, with further review, he can do the same thing that has done when residents put stanchions in front of their homes on the right-of-way. As long as he gives us a hold harmless, he can go ahead and put a new fence in. So, unless anybody has any problem with
Was it a decision that the zoning basically agreed
Correct.
with? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So unless somebody here has an objection,
I'll do it if we can't use our standard one. We have a standard agreement.
Yeah,
We have a standard one, but primarily with these construction, we always have to tweak it to make sure that it meets the exact
You'll take care of it?
situation.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
No problem.
Because especially in the event that his fence has to be taken down.
next is a,
Right,
We don't
yes, agree
replace it.
that you would take it down and we don't have to pay for replacement.
a
Yes.
block party request, and nobody has a problem with that, I would hope.
Unless they invite Shama.
The Teaneck Town Council has come out opposing,
Anti-suicide.
Suggesting a
Yeah.
fence,
No,
Yes.
it's proposing.
Larger,
they're proposing.
higher fence.
a higher
fence.
an anti-jumper
I'll
fence.
be honest with you, from what I understand, there's going to be a total reconstruction of the bridge over the next few years, and as a result of that, I'm sure that they're going to be doing this. You folks want to do a resolution like this?
So, yeah, I think that's important for you to, if they build it, to make sure at least that we are on the record that they want to put it.
Anne Marie, you'll put together a similar resolution for us? Next is a letter for the annual bike ride for MS. Anybody have any problems with this? This is turned over to our police department to make sure that there are no safety issues with it.
We don't even have to do anything on this.
No.
Well, if for some
We
reason,
get insurance.
if for some reason or other we decided we didn't want to allow it, they'd have to walk their bikes from Englewood Cliffs to Cresco.
Yeah.
I think that makes any sense. We got a thank you note from the American Diabetes Association
For their bike ride.
for their bike ride.
Did you
What
miss
about
a
the
letter from the
balloon? The
editor?
balloon
E.
Yeah.
up in the wave.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, it's funny because I suggested we put this in here.
You can't leave the balloons anymore with
No, this is another one of those issues. John, did I ask you about the balloons?
Yes.
Okay, the chair of the Environmental Commission is here, and so is Dan, as our liaison. In 2 minutes or less, can you give us a sense of what your commission thought about this balloon thing?
Well, we discussed the issue of the balloons, and we noticed that the balloons are hazardous from a number of points of view. Most of them related to the fact that the balloons use helium, and that the helium causes the balloons to float away, as we all know, and they end up somewhere. And they're environmental hazards for both fish and wildlife on land. They generally never disintegrate. Even the ones that are supposed to disintegrate, the latex balloons, take 5 years or so to disintegrate. And in the process, they can do a lot of damage. And the Environmental Commission feels that the borough should not be taking part in the distribution of helium-filled balloons, which essentially means that we don't want to give away helium-filled balloons at events, and we want to make sure that vendors that we deal with do not give away helium-filled balloons.
It's only helium?
A que-
I thought all the balloons.
Well,
I was going to say,
For control.
if somebody has a 3-year-old birthday party, a lot of the times people are blowing these balloons up manually, either by mouth or with a hand pump. Are these balloons dangerous too? Not from the helium point of view, but from the material?
So
the
the
balloons are
helium
made of?
part is so they don't fly away.
Yeah.
Balloon, any other, that's fine.
we're going to stay locally.
Right.
So
We're not going to.
Because
we
you
can
dispose-
do something with this and just blame the Environmental Commission so they don't get hit. No. Do you folks
Like old
want to do something? The first step would be easy enough that any of our events,
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
any events
absolutely, we
that-
should do
on
that.
borough property or borough events. Mark?
And I completely respect the Environmental Commission's point of view on this issue. John, personally, I love you, right?
But
I just have a hard time supporting the banning of balloons.
No, we're not banning balloons.
Helium balloons, I just think
We go a step too far.
I think we're going a step too far.
Well, again,
We shouldn't ban. We're not talking of banning, but at least the borough itself should not
Borough-sponsored
use it
events.
at borough-sponsored
That's
events.
Sean-
That's all.
I understand your point.
You can have a
basically,
helium
all we
balloon.
do is basically tell the recreation department that we don't want them dealing with helium balloons. That's it.
So they're not going to have balloons.
No, they can have regular balloons.
You can't have a balloon that doesn't go.
It's like
there.
It's
No,
like
regular pump.
Oh, really?
this is like banning
This is a
fun.
test for my noiseless fireworks.
Well, you get your, listen, there's a lot of ways you can get your kicks.
Well, I'm just,
Well, for instance, we have
Let's not go
community
there.
night coming up on Monday.
no, I'm not gonna-
balloons?
We don't give them away in large numbers.
But they
I'm
do
sure
they
many
do
times
hurt
people
turtles
attach
and dolphins. I know that. I've read
What's
several
that?
articles.
Well, yeah,
They have
There are
hurt
whales,
turtles
there
and
are
dolphins.
recorded instances of whales that have died because of ingestion.
Yes,
listen,
yes.
Yeah, but they're not coming from Tenafly. Don't worry
Well, you
about
don't
it.
know
No,
about
you
that.
don't know.
the whales or the balloons, Tony?
Both.
You know, the reality of it is, what's going on in the environment is a tragedy. It's our generation, our generation.
We all have to be responsible.
You know, there's things, there's so many things we're going to be dealing with. This is one of them. The plastic bags that are given out at Stop and Shop and every other little store in town. I mean, we're turning this planet into a garbage dump. And
agree.
this is one of the things that when you say, well, it's not out of our control, we're a little town. Well, it's not out of our
can do our
control
piece.
if we don't want it to be. And we can't stop our surrounding neighborhoods from doing it. But I don't necessarily, listen, I'm against big government, just like many of you are. But I don't see anything wrong with taking a stand in our own events and saying, look, community night, July 4th fireworks, anything that we
Anything we
do,
can
let's do it without balloons. I mean, it's not the end of the world.
It's not.
It really isn't.
There can be balloons, just don't use the helium ones just in case they get loose.
And again, stressing that at least the Environmental Commission is only talking about borough-sponsored, borough activities, not your
Right.
party.
So what I'd like to see happen is we're going to have a newsletter come out in October, and in that newsletter, I'd like to see a set of rules, and just letting people know, look, if you're having a birthday party in your backyard, we're not telling you what you can or can't do, but we're not going to allow helium balloons. Or do you want, is it helium balloons or any type of balloon?
Just helium, he's saying.
look, I want to make sure I go on record as I didn't vote for this.
Well, nobody's voted for it yet,
Okay.
because we haven't put anything on the table to vote. But I think I don't think it's the wrong
Mayor,
thing to
rather
do.
than say we don't allow you to use helium balloons even at your party, why not just write a piece about the importance to nature of not having helium balloons?
And, yeah,
The
we-
Environmental Commission can write a paragraph
we can tell,
and just raise awareness.
we can tell the recreation department that we would appreciate them not encouraging it, and in fact discouraging it unless it's Mark Zenna's event, in which case it would blow
No,
away.
really, I think we should invite John Wong as the chair of Environmental Commission to write a piece about it, and we can put that in the borough newsletter.
Okay, and do you give Greenpeace Mark's personal numbers?
Did you hear what you just volunteered for? You know, the deadline
No,
is
but seriously, what
Wait, I
is the
didn't do
action?
Well, the action is it's going to be recommendations, not ordinances.
It was suggested that you write a
for
piece
the
for the town.
internal town
Yes.
event,
Yes.
not to
We're
use
going
it.
to, yes, not to use.
John Worms is going to write a piece in the borough
Let the
newsletter.
minutes record that John Worms did not necessarily shake his head.
John Worms, I volunteered you.
What, John, get something to Jewel, and she'll fine tune it, review it, try and do it the next
Let's
week.
not put it in the newsletter for the borough because it's going to be ridiculous. Let it be a.
Okay, next is a thank you note from the American Diabetes Association
I'm all in.
What did it say?
and a request for a fair at the Trinity Lutheran Church, which I think takes place every year.
Yes, Gazette is already aware of it.
And The last letter is a request for a false alarm waiver, which we 99% of the time never grant. In fact, the gentleman grabbed me and I said to him, I don't think it's going to happen. Because he had really no circumstances that warranted. This is his third false alarm. And as much as I don't like to hit small businesses over the head, it is what it is.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce is going to pay for it.
Next. Anybody have any questions about the resolutions which are listed here, Mike?
Are you going to see the original?
Yeah.
The bills.
Approve expenditures.
Yeah, we didn't see the bills.
We'll have some discussion in closed session about some activities that could generate additional resolutions.
Okay.
But what about this one? It says approve expenditures as of September. Approve what expenditures?
That's the bill
You don't
list.
get that until
We
before
won't get
next
that?
meeting.
Okay.
So
we cannot
won't get it until after you approve it.
Of course.
We cannot approve
We
on
can't
this.
approve it. We'll put it on the next agenda.
It's only
item.
September 6th, so
Putting it on the agenda.
can't possibly do September 7th.
All right, Tony, you want to bring up, first of all, anybody have old, new business? Tony has something listed on as far as the street fair is concerned. Tony?
As you can see, I put in front of you, businesses have expressed their voice about having the fair on Highland Avenue. I had conversations with Max's Grill, Tenafly Gourmet Farms. We spoke to the district manager of Valley National Bank, Manju Cafe, and as a subset, I spoke with Miller's Bakery and the liquor store, who, even though they're not on Highway Avenue, they just wanted to voice their concerns about having the fair on Washington Avenue as well. Our downtown is in trouble and it's hurting, and our merchants, when you have a fair and it affects them, it's not the right thing to do. They are losing money. It varies from $1,000 all the way up based upon the size of the business that we're dealing with. After having conversations with the manager of Valley National Bank, they told me that no cars will be allowed in the parking lots. Gourmet Farms, the owner of the building, also told me that cars will not be allowed to be parked in that lot.
Well, hold on a second, Tony. You're referring to a future...
No, this one.
The one coming up in October?
That's correct.
Well, first of all, I'm under the impression that there will be continual access to the Valley National Bank parking lot for their customers.
For their customers only.
And also for Max's customers.
But because of the use of the parking lot at the last fair, that was the concern from Valley National Bank. So they wanted me to express that they will not tolerate any other vehicles other than the business.
Well, that makes sense.
Okay. We had some conversations several meetings ago, and Mark brought up a very viable solution to this ongoing issue. And I think it's time that we really do the right thing for our merchants in Tenafly and have the street fair in the circle by the just like where we have the door.
The roof stock.
It will alleviate any concerns with all of the businesses, whether it be on Washington Avenue or Highwood Avenue. There will be no issues with them at all. All of these people that I've spoken to are not against, nor certainly not I, against having a street fair, but I am against having it when it's affecting our businesses. Because our businesses, they need to make every dollar count, and I think it's the right thing to do. So I would ask that we reconsider our vote and go for the fair on the circle for the October fair.
Anybody have any thoughts?
I liked Mark's suggestion. Mark was talking about Tenafly Road or the
Tenafly Road and the circle.
And the
that whole
circle.
area.
And the circle seems better because I've seen Woodstock take place there. I've been to there.
Probably need both spaces.
Five members of the council voted to have it go on Highwood Avenue, including you.
I did,
and everybody else.
but...
At the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. At the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. At the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. You know, at the time of the discussion, I remember this very well. really, the thought was, although from a perspective of impacting businesses, since there are no businesses on Tenafly Road other than the gasoline station down on the corner, which would still be at the end, that this was not a viable place to have a street fair, that street fairs are always on main streets in front of businesses. And that's why I would assume 5 of us voted to have it where it has been already. I think it was a permit issued already for this?
Yes.
Okay. So we already issued a permit.
Doesn't matter.
Advertisements are out.
Doesn't matter. You vote. If you recall, several, I don't know how many meetings ago, when we had this conversation, that explicit directions were given to the Chamber of Commerce that they were to go to every store on Highwood Avenue and seek their approval, and also advise them that a street fair was going to take place.
Well, I don't recall them suggesting that they had to have their approval. We told them they had we told them that they had to be given notice that this was going to happen.
Well, it has not been done. Now, how do you get a permit when you so? You know what? Listen, I don't know why is there such a fight to want to have it. Listen, the question here's the $64,000 question. Why would you move it from Washington Avenue to Highwood Avenue? Well, because the merchants on Washington Avenue don't want it there either. So now you have it on Highwood Avenue.
Well, there were 2 reasons why it was moved. One is because the merchants in Washington didn't want it there. The second reason was that from a logistical standpoint, traffic control and the fact that Highwood is wider, we all thought that this would be a better place. And in all fairness, it is a better place to have it than Washington Street for so many reasons. The problem is, even on Highwood, it does have a negative impact on some of these businesses. Now, this was all discussed at great length. And we made a decision, and it's always easy to say, well, let's reverse the decision. But a permit has been issued. Mark? Max?
Here's Mark.
Oh, no, listen, wait, hang on a second.
Believe me, I don't.
The permit is issued to have a street fair. We can, as this, being that the last time I remember, this council is the one that says yay or nay to permits. Peter.
And Marie, does the permit list the location of the street fair?
Yes.
Okay. So a permit has been issued for this location.
This body is the one that approves or disapproves the
And we
permit.
approved it, unfortunately.
No, well, we can disapprove it also.
Well,
We have the right to do that.
I don't know.
Can I give you some information?
No, you can't, because we start at 7:30, and that's when and we know what you're going to say anyway.
No, I have information.
No.
We discussed it at length. I have nothing against to move it anywhere and stuff like that. But what we said is that we should put it in a place where it creates the best bang for the dollar. And we asked the Chamber of Commerce to look at the pluses and minuses and give us their opinion. And we all agreed that we're going to pretty much agree by that type of opinion because they are having the best interest of the businesses in town. There are going to be always some businesses are going to say yes and some businesses no. Now, if we as a group decided that we have a better view of what the businesses require and we have a better place, I don't have a problem, but that's how we made the decision.
Our decision, we were very specific at this meeting. In all fairness, let's not make revisionist history. We approved a street fair on Highwood Avenue.
Yeah, based on the input, what I'm saying.
Based on the fact that that's what the request was.
Yes.
And we didn't ask them to do studies. We didn't ask them to get permission of the businesses. We only required them to notice the businesses, that's when it was going to be. Now, a permit was issued specifically for this date and this location. I'm not a supporter of street fairs. If it had been a tie vote, we wouldn't be having this discussion. All right, Bill, you're the borough attorney. We issued a permit for a specific date and a specific location. Can we change our mind now?
Well, although you could change your mind, people have relied on it, and it would be a poor decision both politically and legally to do that.
Who relied upon it?
There are people, there are
if we change our mind now.
people are relying on that.
When you say people, who's relying on it?
I would assume that the participants in the street fair
Yeah.
have been
But do
preparing
they really
for.
care
So-
if the street fair is on Highwood
I don't
versus
know.
X versus Y?
I don't know.
As long
the
as
answer.
there is a street fair, I mean, if I'm taking a booth, do I really care if it's on this street or that street, if I'm going to get the people to come and purchase from
Well, I
it?
think, frankly, I think the only people we should be interested in primarily are not the vendors, but the people that make up the Chamber of Commerce, because we've given them the authority to speak for the businesses.
Yeah.
And once again, I'll reiterate, if there's 6 or 8 businesses that don't like this sort of stuff, they should become members and vote against it, and then we wouldn't be having this discussion. If you would like, against my better judgment, the president of the chamber, you want to let her have her say?
Wait, Peter, you just said something that's absolutely untrue.
What's that?
Okay? You said because the businesses are not members of the chamber, that really they shouldn't have a say in this. Listen, because a business doesn't want to join the chamber, has no relevance at all
But then
with this at all. Has no discussion.
We've given the chamber over the years, Tony,
Peter.
and you've been
I don't
part of
care.
the process. We've given the chamber the right to speak for the businesses. Now, if you want to deal with 30 businesses instead of one chamber, that's fine. But I really believe it would be a lot easier for everybody if people that want to get involved in this decision do so at the ground level, where they start with the
I
chamber.
have a question. At the last meeting, we had one letter from Max's Grill, and that was the
Correct.
only letter we had, which we saw. Now, you've named practically, I mean, Highwood doesn't have a lot of businesses on it. You've named practically every business that exists on it.
Well, we have 3
There's that,
letters, 2 of them new, and 1 more from Max.
Yeah, one more from Max and one from
No,
somebody else.
I don't doubt that.
And then-
Most of the businesses on
and
that
the
street
people
don't
who
want
came-
it there.
And the people who came and spoke here. So, I mean, in that strip of Highwood, all the businesses you mentioned.
My
Well,
own.
the other one's not, is the dry cleaners.
Why would any business want this in front of their store on a weekend? I don't understand. Yeah, I mean, on Washington Street there were a few because they took advantage of it. They put tables out and they sold stuff. But generally speaking, I mean, take for example the kosher deli, because I'm in there all the time, and although they never complained publicly, they weren't in support of it. And there's a lot of... So we moved it from one place because the businesses didn't want it there. We moved it to another place where there are some businesses.
And they don't want it either.
What did we expect? But what did we expect?
By having this on Highwood Avenue and or Washington Avenue, what you're saying is that you have much more concern for the vendors than you do our own merchants. That's what you're saying. Absolutely, that's what you're saying.
I thought
So-
we said that the Chamber of Commerce represent the vendors in town,
The businesses.
the businesses in town. So if what we are saying is that they do not,
No, I didn't say they do not.
so
But-
what organization would we trust to basically make a decision for the businesses in town? That's the question, because we have to trust one organization to do the right things.
No, absolutely not. The Chamber of Commerce has a function, and they have whatever they're doing, absolutely. But if I've got 6 businesses here that voice their displeasure about having it, and because and some of them I think are members of the chamber, some of them may not be. They have a right to speak and
No
voice their
question about
concern.
that.
Whether the chamber's in approval or not, it doesn't matter.
But
You guys,
how would you want to do a process like that?
There's certain facts here that are indisputable. One is that the chamber speaks for the businesses in town. Not all businesses choose to be in the chamber, but that's their prerogative. We've always allowed the chamber to come before us and represent the businesses. Okay? I know for a fact, even though I don't always agree with everything that the president of the chamber does, that she works extremely hard to get a consensus. She goes to everybody, the vote was very close. And once again, I just don't understand it. Businesses don't want this. Instead of writing letters, you join the chamber, you vote no.
Yes, but Peter,
That doesn't make sense.
Well, I can guarantee you that if you went to the stores on Highwood Avenue, just what I said, they are voting no, that they don't want it. Now,
Right.
how you can say to me that maybe the stores on Washington don't, sure, they'd love to have it on Highwood Avenue because they don't care. Go ahead, have it on Highwood Avenue.
But we moved it from Washington because they didn't want it there.
What was your logic then?
I don't know. I mean, we moved
You
it
don't know
because we
why
thought
you
it was a better spot. I
But
wasn't.
we moved it. Why did we move it?
But the people didn't want it, the merchants didn't want it there.
Mark?
Just a couple of short things. We've experienced nothing but negative feedback of this fair being on Highwood Avenue. No one's come in here saying this is a great idea, let's do it on Highwood again.
Well, that's wrong. The police chief did say it worked better.
Yes.
Well, he's not a business.
No, but he
And
worked.
he's not running a business. and he's not-
He said it worked better from a logistical standpoint.
From a logistical standpoint.
We all understand that it's apparent that wherever we put it, if there's a business in front of it, they're not going to be happy. And we all understand that when we moved it from Washington to Highwood, we were taking it in front of some businesses and moving it to in front of other businesses.
Well, that brings me back to my same point, and I discussed this at the last meeting. We decided not to do it. I think we made a mistake at the last meeting. We should put this on Tenafly Road or around the circle and fix our mistake.
Okay.
And then we don't hurt any businesses.
I think that what I think.
Then we get the opinion of the chamber president.
All right.
So
Here's the vote.
Short opinion.
Here's the vote.
I
All
support
right.
you.
Christine, are you in favor of street fairs?
Tony, what do you think?
Absolutely, by the circle, absolutely.
We have
Fantastic.
already, people care how close the street fair is to town. And the people that are signing up for the street fair, that's already been out, that money's been taken, they're expecting it in that location. As far as businesses not liking it, I've been doing research at other chambers of commerce because they're all bringing back street fairs. Restaurants at other street fairs love the street fairs. What they're doing is holding special events. In light of this research, we're going to be having an international food fest. Restaurants are going to have a fixed price, fixed menu option that we're going to be advertising as a group for people to make reservations. I have pictures in this one that was being meant, if you want to just pass them on. So I can bring more. This was a picture from a 3:30 seating in a very large restaurant where the theme was a clam jam. All the food trucks had long lines. This restaurant was packed. It was a $65 meal. They had
$65 meal.
It was packed. You could see from the pictures. They did very well at the street fair. Some of this just requires tweaking to get something good for the businesses out of it. The cleaners on Highwood, for instance, said people were coming into her and saying, "Are those prices real? I've got to bring my shirts here." Some of the other restaurants like Tenafly are very much interested in working to get people from the street fair into their restaurants. Tenafly Kosher Deli and Miller's have both said that they lose business at street fairs, but they invariably get 3 or 4 new customers for life, and that is enough to offset their losses from street fairs. Inventory businesses, of course, do well, and our inventory businesses do better the closer the street fair is to their businesses. And the circle's not big enough for the street fair.
Well, when we say the circle, I think that would also include Tenafly Road from River Edge to West Clinton.
If you mess up the traffic going up Washington, that will have the detrimental effect on all the businesses on Washington without any of the positives of bringing traffic by the businesses.
I think that's the police chief's determination about the traffic.
Let's put it this way. If Washington Avenue was closed down to Tenafly Road, you'd have the only way people could come down Washington is from West Railroad, and they'd have to make the turn onto North Summit.
Right.
So you're going to get a lot. You would really have a terrible impact on the Washington Street businesses for that day.
But you do have it anyhow.
You don't have any offsetting people walking past their businesses. And Miller's Bakery and Tenafly Kosher Deli are like the epitome of that model.
Just so we understand, you sold all the tickets already for the street fair, correct? That's what you said?
I can't say it's on camera. I don't know that.
What did you state
advertised.
Something? Okay, so did you sell any or not?
I don't sell them.
Who sells them? I'm sorry.
Street Fair Limited, that's why I don't know.
Well, hold on a second. What contractual obligations have you incurred as a result of getting
That's
this
what that's
permit
important.
and moving forward? What have you done? Have you signed a contract with?
Oh, yes.
All right.
We have a contract for that location,
Okay.
and we get paid based on that location.
Okay, so have you received any monies to this point?
No, I will receive the monies that day.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question? Where do you propose to have everybody park, the vendors? Where are they gonna park their trucks?
It's a
And
place
We
to
park them
this.
in Wells Fargo.
Excuse
that
me?
lot-
Oh,
you know
really?
where the
Did you get
municipal-
written permission from them?
The municipal lot at the back of Wells Fargo.
By the Elks.
Back
That's-
of Wells Fargo.
That's
Well,
part of their
I
permit.
would, first of all,
very far
I
away.
would say this, listen.
That's where
I got
the
issues,
vendors go.
Tony, I have issues with street fairs, but as far as handling the vendors, it's always been done in a very professional manner. They unload, they park their vehicles down across from the Elks Club in that municipal lot. It's never been a disturbance to anybody.
But
I've
this,
never heard-
according to these letters, it was not good.
That's correct.
According to what
I don't-
these letters
I don't-
have written, there's- it-
Wait. Last year, Hollywood was the first time there, right?
Last time in
Right.
April.
Yes. And we made
Right.
mistakes. We screwed up the banking.
Yes.
We absolutely, that was a complete and utter mistake. They were supposed to have access, and they didn't.
I've been all over Christine about the issues with the bank and Max's, because Max was all over me. So I believe that those two businesses, the issues have been resolved. There'll be access to that bank parking lot all day long. Okay? Max's customers can park in there. Where Tenafly Gourmet is concerned, obviously the ingress and egress into that parking lot has been cut in half, but people still have the ability to get in and out of that lot. The other businesses, there's not much you can do for them. They're going to be landlocked. You know, whether it's the
Mandu Cafe.
Simply Vietnamese, Mandu Cafe. So I can't say that there's anything that's going to be done for them. We made a decision. I don't know. Bill, do we have an option here?
Well, I think that we always have an option to change things, but as I said, it's from a legal perspective, you have people who rely upon that, who've paid money in reliance upon the location, who maybe wouldn't have done it. So I think that you really put yourself in a precarious situation by changing it. At this point, after, you know.
Well, what if we had a, what if
You could do it, but
timing is everything, of course.
sure.
You know, what if you or Christine had a conversation with, what's the name of the street fair vendor?
Street Fair Limited.
Street Fair Limited about this issue, just throw it out there on the table and say, you know, we have traffic and we have business issues. And we're saying, you know, we're questioning whether it's in the right location, and have a conversation with them about it and see where it goes.
Well, we have no contract with anyone.
When
You can always change your mind.
When we issue a permit, that's not some sort of contract?
Well,
But we don't want to go out of our way to cause problems for the chamber, obviously.
If we slid over to Piermont between Hyler and basically Piermont, would that be an accept? There aren't any businesses in front
Well,
of there.
then you're just doing
If you're changing the situation, then why not Tenafly and if the...
No, wait, I'm sorry, say that again, please.
Then you're blocking the other side of Tenafly Gourmet.
By
Piermont Road is an entrance
By the
onto
railroad
Tenafly Gourmet.
station.
by the railroad station, opposite Hyler Park, by Hyler Park.
Not
Where you
Hyder
put the
Park.
band
We don't want
shell
to do
for the
Hyder Park.
concert.
So you're
No,
just,
but
you're
on
just
the
saying,
road there.
you're
Yeah.
just saying between Washington
Hyder
Street,
Park will be destroyed.
the end of the railroad station, and West Clinton.
Yes. I've been told that there is enough room there because he can double up the line.
Well, that would be fantastic. I'm not sure that Cafe Angelique would be happy.
Cafe Angelique is moving to,
No, they're not moving anywhere. No.
well, the owners are also having the place next to Cafe
Yeah,
Angelique.
but they're not moving Cafe Angelique.
Okay,
so-
that's
But
good.
wouldn't that impact Hyler Park?
Well-
Would you have everybody floating into Hyler Park?
Yep.
I'm not happy about that.
Here, look, every town that I can think of, for some reason or another, has a street fair. Even Fort Lee has that Italian festival that closes off Main Street every year. Englewood, that has Palisade Avenue,
Oh,
closes
Englewood has a
Palisade
great
Avenue
street
2 or
fair.
3 times a
I
year.
love it.
Every town has street fairs. we agreed to do this street fair. If this body says we're not happy about it, then maybe you pass a resolution saying, you know what, this will be the last street fair. But I don't see how you can go back on it at this particular point in time. We can also make a resolve to make sure that the businesses that are impacted this time are impacted as little as possible. I think we made great strides with Max's and with the bank. We committed already. 5 of us voted yes. All right, so let's, you have to bite the bullet. And
I don't think so.
Why can't we have it, I mean, just what Christine said,
where?
on that, by the
Move it
Cafe
over one
Angelica.
block, I think.
But where? I'm sorry?
Move it over a block.
If that works for Christine, I have no problem.
So you're moving it anyway. Here's my point.
Yeah,
If you're moving it anyway, all this thing about being in the permit and locations are done and all, that's like
That was our original request.
nothing.
In the
It's up to
parking
the
lot of
chief.
the...
I mean,
It's all about convenience.
Yeah, I think
it's
he's
all
already,
about,
he's already vetted that location, and I don't think he was in favor of it.
Well, we closed that we closed
I thought we
that
closed
street
it
for
for Highland Park.
concerts.
yeah.
They're looking to close that street. Just
I'm
that
talking about
one
the
block.
Piermont.
No, she's talking about
We're just talking about...
where I closed the barricades by the railroad station.
What you were talking about, we would originally ask for by Highland Park plus the block to the north, so that you would be crossing Washington. We're not, the street fair promoter said that you get 2 lines of vendors because of the angled parking on Piermont. So we only need that 1 block. I believe you're thinking of the police saying that we couldn't cross
Washington Street,
Washington and
Hillside.
Hillside. Thank you.
So you are saying, like the mayor said, the area that's closed off during the concert, only that piece.
Right. The one in
Yes.
front, the parking lot for
But we need to have
by
some,
Cafe
the
Angelique.
That sounds-
bouncies on Highland Park.
That sounds like a pretty good compromise.
Yeah,
It's
I
where
agree.
they put
All
the
in all.
bouncing chain.
So it seems like the
We can put the
location is
bouncing
not
on
written in stone.
Right.
Put the bouncy what?
On the grass in Highland Park. There
But
wasn't
it gets it
room for
away
that
from
in
the
fair.
businesses while it keeps it closer to where it originally was.
Except for the Cafe Angelique is going to be...
Before you go
Well, that's
talking
only-
about putting a bounce house on
On
Highland
the
Park,
grass,
you
yeah.
need to have...
No, not on the grass.
But that's what you
No, I had bounce houses, but that
No.
are exactly like that on my
Where the
grass.
kids
and it was fine.
Nothing
So
on
let's
the
do it on
park.
the grass.
Nothing in the
Not on
park.
the-
I had that every year. The groundhogs ate my grass.
Nothing in the park. We do not destroy the
No,
park.
it's one thing to have it at a small
Yeah.
birthday party, 12 kids, but
100 people.
I don't
I
know.
need to have a place for the bouncy for that spot to work. There wasn't enough room without a bounce
So
that goes on.
The bouncing you can put on the other side by the
bus station.
not the bus station where
Sundays.
on the other side of Piermont.
Can I make a
That's
suggestion?
what the police chief
Christine,
objected.
rather than spending the next hour talking about where the bounce house goes, why don't you go back and offline figure out if you can make the bounce house work there? And then my recommendation is we put it on Piermont there.
I would agree with you, but I don't think the bounce house is going to fit in there with
All
it.
right, but let her have that. Let her think through that.
I don't necessarily think that the bounce house is all that important.
Yeah. Who cares about the bounce house?
Compromise.
Look at all the
It's a way
money.
to attract
Like
the traffic.
Well, that's okay.
It's important for the kids to get the traction. But also,
bounce
look
house.
again
I
north
like the
of,
bounce house.
excuse me, look again north on Piermont, in front of, if that can be compromised a bit of here, don't destroy the park.
Not
Nothing
on
in the
the
park.
No,
Nothing in the
that
park.
won't get my vote.
No green stuff, no tree, you
You
know.
do have that parking lot. You do the parking lot right behind the borough signs. The political signs. You have a small.
Yeah.
The borough has a small.
Yeah.
parking lot.
But it's not,
problem
but
is-
the
The problem is
bushes
you
and all
don't
hide
want
it.
the kids crossing.
Yeah.
That would be, you could also put it over where the bus shelter is, or on that strip
Yeah.
on the other side of the island there. But now you have a issue of families with young kids walking back and forth across that
How about the bounce house just on the other side of the tracks?
on Washington Street,
Railroad.
on
Railroad.
Railroad Street.
Railroad. Say opposite, say
The cinema.
Wells Fargo and the cinema.
The bounce house
I'm
would-
okay with
The
that.
bounce house would have to close the street, no? If you have to close the street, no.
Which is
The
okay.
angle parking.
Which is okay. We close it every time.
We don't close West Railroad Street.
When we have the, when we have
If you can,
Get rid
figure out-
of the bounce house.
the bounce
Get rid
house
of
fits
the
in
bounce
the angle
house.
parking, but I think it's wider than it.
I could find that out.
I support Mark's contention that we let Christine figure out bounce
on the
house.
bounce
I'll work with the bounce.
And it seems
Are
that
we
the
okay with
location with all the permit and all, it wasn't such a big deal, Mayor.
It might be, but
It might be if the promoter comes back and says at this point,
Then we.
We'll worry about that when we
We'll worry
cross
about it when it
yeah,
happens.
that-
I will
that
work on that.
bridge.
I think I can do that.
All right.
We still have the International Food Fest. We have people signed up
Here,
for
I do
that.
have one other item on new business. I would like to read a prepared statement I wrote. This past Saturday, our police department went above and beyond the call of duty while working and being represented at RJ's funeral. Those of you that do not know, RJ was a 5-year-old little boy who succumbed to cancer. And, every police department was at the funeral. Every police department in Bergen County, the Tenafly Fire Department, as well as the Bergenfield Fire Department. It was.
And New York City Police Department.
New York City had 15 police cars there. It was an unbelievable showing. The police department received numerous ovations at the funeral, which were started by the priests, actually. You know, our Tenafly Police Department are the best of the best. Making arrests and keeping us safe is a theme that we all can be very proud of. They do conduct numerous civic activities throughout the year, such as bike rodeos and barbecues for our seniors, are just some of the few. Are our police unhappy with the mayor and council? Well, you have to ask yourself that if you did not get a raise for the 3+ years, how would you feel? I certainly don't expect any Christmas cards from the police this year. The relationship that once stood between the council and the police has disappeared. And even with this new contract, it will take years to be rebuilt. I will say that the unprofessional comments made by Councilman Bash at the last council meeting and the comments about the lack of professionalism, along with the comments by Councilwoman Hayter in the Suburbanite and Bash concerning the police and how they perform their duties, is unacceptable and unprofessional. We talk over and over about how the police should and should not do their job. I wonder if anyone at this table has a degree in criminal justice. These comments are insulting and outright lies. Comments made related to professionalism or performance of duty are really almost on the cusp of being a workplace violence issue. Now, if you take a look just south of us at Englewood Cliffs Police Department and look at the nonsense that's going on from within that department, and that department's in shambles, and between the mayor and council and the police, I hate to tell you, but we're just as bad. And we're heading to be in the same position. We must be 100% supportive of our police department. Now, can there be differences? Yes, absolutely. But we as elected officials must perform our duties in a civil, respectful manner, and we must support our police.
Mayor, can I have a moment to say?
Sure.
Would you please explain to me, Councilman Barzalato, what lies I am supposed to have said?
You are quoted in the paper here saying that our police don't do their job.
No, I didn't say that. I said, if you read it carefully, I said...
Hayter says that she thinks there are enough people in the police department to do their job.
No.
To which Councilman Max Bash said they should do their job. They just don't do it. Wait, let me
Tony,
finish.
just a minute. Don't quote me out of context. I'm just telling you, this was in context with when the mayor said to hire somebody.
I understand that.
And I said, aren't there enough people in the police department to do the job? Are you telling me that's a lie? Why are you calling it a lie?
Absolutely.
I have an opinion. You're saying it's a lie?
Absolutely. What you said our police department is not doing their job.
First of all,
that's a lie.
Tony, and
I'm sorry, that's a lie.
Tony, you know, the times they are changing. We have members of the press here at every meeting okay? They're doing what they consider to be their job. This is relatively new. 5 years ago, there was never anybody here, okay? For some reason or other, and I think it's a positive thing for the most part, the press has decided to cover local issues in a much more, a higher priority than they have in the past. That's good because our residents get a sense of what's going on. It's the same reason we put it on Channel 77. However, we each have to understand that whatever is said at this table is now public record and goes out there. So we need to, I'm not saying don't say things, but we have to take that into account before we say things, okay? Bickering at the table and accusatory statements at the table only reflect poorly on all 7 of us. So I would urge each member of this governing body to be a little more tolerant of each other and not to be so accusatory because, like I said, the press is here tonight and they have the right to print whatever we say, and it doesn't reflect well not only on whoever is accusing and being accused, but all of us. And Tony brought up Englewood Cliffs, and that is a perfectly good example where they fight at the table, they fight outside, and it's all over the newspapers. And the council, and to a certain degree, even in many cases, the police department is a laughingstock in that community because of the way they carry on in the public. So I would urge each one of you that if you have something to say to each other, that you do it one-on-one, privately, because I don't want to be part of a governing body that's fighting at this table. We haven't had that in years. And we can have differences of opinions, and we can argue back and forth. But let's try and keep it civil and not be so accusatory, okay? Tony, I understand
Not
your
about
anger is...
being accusatory, Peter.
Well,
it's all about being, we should, as a body, support our employees. Now, we may not always agree to what they do or don't do.
I agree.
Okay?
We should be supportive of our employees. If we have issues with our employees, we should take them one-on-one to our borough administrator who oversees our employees, and sometimes you come away with a different perspective after the administrator really tells you what the reality of it is.
I'll be honest, we're trying to build a relationship with the police department. Now, Shama, I don't know if you remember back the days when Michael Laddiff sat here and he destroyed the relationship between the Tenafly Fire Department and the mayor and council. It's taken years to rebuild that relationship. We're in the same boat with the police department because of things that were said, things that weren't said, and listen, we all should be working together as a big family, as a unit. And when we start saying that the police department is not doing their job, how do you think all the officers in the police department, what is the one thing that they say? I can tell you right now, if you went and polled every one of those guys right now, they would say they despise every single one of us. Despise us. That's not right.
Tony, once again, these are comments that I think you could discuss.
So out of order.
That's
so out of order.
I have a couple.
Not at all, Matt. You're the one who's in here, Matt.
I have a couple of things I want to bring to your attention. I think we're pretty much finished with the work session.
Looks like it.
3 items. First of all, they're having a memorial service for Bruce Baker this Saturday at 11 o'clock at the Church of the Atonement. Bruce was a former councilman, and I can't believe it goes back, I think, to the 80s when he was on the council. But since that time, he's been involved in so many different phases of community life, whether it be historic preservation, whether it be environmental commission, whether it be the welcome committee where he was an unofficial member, the library. Bruce led Tenafly, like many of the people that we've lost over the last few years, including Martha. So that's 11 o'clock, the Church of Atonement.
Saturday?
Saturday. Second of all, I just want to give you a heads up. There is a home on Cambridge Road that is, right now, the mortgage is in arrears. The banks are starting to take it. It hasn't been in foreclosure yet. It has been a real problem for the neighbors. At one time, there was concern over infestation of rodents. I did speak with the attorneys that represent the bank. I told them they had to clean it up. They brought a couple of dumpsters in. They took away a lot of stuff, but I think they only took it from the inside of the house. They went into the house wearing masks, which tells you what must fit inside. By the time they were finished, the outside of the house is worse than it ever was. There's 2 junk cars in the driveway that haven't moved for years. I think their registration stickers are expired. Tomorrow, we're going to give them a short period of time, and then if they don't clean it up, we're going to clean it up ourselves and, put a lien on the house.
What street is that on?
14 Cambridge. Last but not least, Tony, for the 9/11, would you see if the fire, 5 years ago at the 10th anniversary, the fire department did the colors? Could you ask if either the police or fire department would want to do the colors at 5 o'clock on Sunday? And if not, get back to me in a day or so. I'll ask the scouts if they would want to do it if the police or fire aren't available. All right. I'd like to have that. Now, you said you'd be willing to say a few words?
Yeah, I would like to say a few words too.
Okay.
Closed session.
Closed session. So I want to thank everybody for coming tonight.